Thank you, PS. PCS, CS, and Governor, and all protocols observed. Bari Asubuhi. I just want to say hello because I'm going to not follow a bit of protocol. I shall dissuade from the more technical conversation. Reason is that, there's always a saying that people in the kitchen tell you there's good food, but they don't tell you how they cook it. They don't tell you how many times they got burnt. They don't tell you how many times they cried. They don't tell you how many times they appeared on a newspaper on an article saying that they have 9 billion and they didn't even have a shilling in their pocket. So if you give me 5 minutes, PCS, please, I would like to go through the journey that me and the team have gone through. And a big part of our thought process is that you can't build a great government without a great private sector backing you up. And the diagram on the board there, it shows a bombing, which is not the best way to start any presentation, but that is Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There's an issue that happened in World War II, and where the Allied forces, which was Britain, America, and all the Allied forces in this particular case were fighting unknown enemies. And the big thing that happened is that they had the only thing that could determine whether a war is won was only if they could develop technology faster than the rest of the people. So what happened is that for the companies that already existed in these places, General Electric, DuPont, and Westinghouse, they then had to go in and literally develop whether it's the nuclear reactors and the things that currently form everything in place. Those companies, as are told, you never see them getting the awards that they stopped World War II in any particular way. So I really want to take the step and say that private sector has a big push in this particular case. One thing that you notice is that this doesn't happen only in Kenya or in World War II. Currently, where they're talking about Pfizer, SpaceX, and all these other companies around the world, there's a private sector that keeps government going in ways that is impossible in all these particular countries. And it's local private sectors in those particular spaces is because when I say local is, we have partners who are international, but when you develop local content to a certain extent, it changes the way your own citizen look at the ecosystem. Because I have a father, I have a mother. Unfortunately, it is true. Technology generally is a young man's game. And if you're as young as me, you've had your father tell you, there's something I can't press here. And since it's a young man's game, developing this next place is, the next space in technology is going to be our role, and our generation is going to carry this forward with the assistance of government. So I'm going to deal with 3 things. Number 1, how do you succeed in that particular space? And how do you go through this success without necessarily losing yourself and losing your values as part of that journey? So I talked to the team the other day, and they told me, look, success has 3 things. Number 1, 2 things. Number 1, luck. Now, luck is for instance, if I'm lucky to meet PCS, and PCS decides to hold my hand to do something, that is luck in general. Number 2 is agency. And I'm happy that our very own champion is in the room, and I usually take heed to things that he says, in that I might not be a runner, I might not be running a marathon, but even when you're doing software, as a thing, you are also running one or another. And I'm going to draw parallels to that. And whether it's the years that you didn't know that Eliud, I want to recognize him in the house, the years that I'm sure nobody knew your name. Now the whole world raves your name. And how does it move from not knowing your name to somebody knowing your name? Same things, and I draw parallel to our own stories, that you have to have 5 things, and this is to the young people being in the university, and the formula next things. Number 1 is the action, to be able to perform, to go out. Number 2 is the adaptation, being able to change at every single way. A journey like ours is where government changes and you have to realign in government whenever it changes. It's a huge journey that we've had to go through. Determination and the move. Then eventually I will show you how you then in software get to the point that you run in under 2 hours. And give Eliud a clap, please. So Now I'm going to go into the software journey. So I'll skip a few slides. So we run a company called Electronic Citizen Solution. It's a consortium. The consortium of 3 unique companies built in Kenya. Number 1, you have a service company called Webmasters. Number 2, you have PesaFlow, which is your payment service provider. And then you have Olive, which is a data management company in so many ways. Now, in 2008, most of us were in our 20s. In 2008, I was actually 19 years old, if I'm being, and that's why I'm saying it's a young man's game. In 2008, a lot of us were working out of cyber cafes. Most of the internet wasn't here. It was mostly dial-up, and you had to go to internet rooms to be able to get software. Believe it or not, the first version of E-Citizen was built in a cyber cafe in town. And that's a story for another day if you want a bit more detail in that way. In 2008, we built services that could interact with government in a particular way. At the Ministry of Finance, we had a need to list all the registries that services are offered in this particular country. Now, these registries included whether if you want to go to Ministry of Lands to be able to get your title deed, there are things that you needed to do and items you need to pay. We used to call that system E-Registry. Now, E-Registry was just a glossary of how services are built in the country. That was never anywhere that you could actually go online. But we were the first company to actually implement E-Registry in this particular case. And E-Registry is what then drove into ECS. There was a small contract at the Ministry of Finance. I usually say some of our founders are crazy because they went there and they actually pitched like, we're the best company in the world, but you're like 3 people in your dorm room. And most of the time, most of our startups are 3 people in a small room trying to get things to work. And at that particular point, government then decided that we have to push through and get services. Now, fast forward to 2013, 2014. In 2013, 2014, at the end of 2013, the then former His Excellency President Uhuru gave a declaration that we want to go through a digital journey. Now, when he gave this particular declaration, the government didn't necessarily know how. How do you actually get services from where they are and where they need to go to? Hence, he formed a cabinet committee. And this cabinet committee, a big part of it was how do we get our services online? And that's the first time that in 2013 that you heard of iTax and the other systems that are currently being used in government go online to a certain extent. So in 2014, a committee was formed. And we had then the Deputy President, who's currently His Excellency, hosting us as a whole team, including all private sector. KCB was there, Safaricom was in the room, ourselves as Webmasters were also in the room. And a big part of that particular journey was they asked, how do we digitize services? And so we were given time to come back and present solutions to a various majority. At that particular time, some of the founders were in the room, and what they did is KCB did present, Safaricom did present, a lot of the teams in the room did present. But it was about 7 people who you're seeing on your screen right now who had the inkling of a solution. And the inkling of a solution came from the fact that a few years ago, World Bank set out a tender. And they said, who can be able to get permits and driver's license and all these things and to be able to be processed within government without papers being there. And World Bank had what we call an ease of doing business arrangement with the government, where they wanted to rank all countries against the ease of doing business. So what they did is that World Bank had actually given us a contract, and that contract was to be able to digitize various places. Now, Waswahili wanasema penye miti hapana wajenzi. So the first countries that we did is you are sent to Lesotho to go and do a digitization, you're sent to another country to go do a digitization, while back home, there's nothing that you've been able to do. But luckily in 2014, when Cabinet decided and His Excellency specifically hosted this forum, he let all these companies present. Now, because we had this past, and this is where action comes into play, our agency was that even if they're bigger companies, they would only be able to solve one problem. They can solve payments. Payments is not how you give services to citizens. Payments is the tail end of how a service gives. So on that particular journey, we told the team in the room that we have a solution to provide the service. We shall integrate into payments either way. And we're a very service-driven company in the way that we are structured and the way that we move along. So up there you can see the handsome faces. They were not this clean when we started out. Unilever has been applied, so this is a big part of them. And this team have spent a lot of time making sure that the system keeps running. Now, I'll fast forward to 2015 when services went live. Services went live and we only had 10 services on the portal. Nothing was ever going, and it was a pilot. So government only gave us a pilot for 10 services. Nothing else was to be onboarded. We were supposed to do 10 services. After 10 services, we were supposed to redetermine the position and where this is supposed to go. So at the end of 2014 towards 2015, all of a sudden, all ministries wanted their services online. And that was a big push in the way. And I remember there was a meeting that was held in the Deputy President's office at the time, and somebody in the room asked, what happens if all our services go online and this thing goes down? And the Deputy President looked at us and said, Vijana, si mutatengeneza? And there's something about that. That is where luck, I usually say, plays into play. You have teams that are working, and sometimes they might not get it right the first time. And most young people don't get it timed around. We've had over 15 years doing this, and we did not get it right the first time. But over the years, things have changed. And we've celebrated birthdays, we've been honored by specific things. At this particular point, especially in 2017, things got a bit rough. Government refused to push the pilot out and to get it done. But we kept supporting the service. I can tell you that at the time we started, we became 48 people in the office. By the time we were getting to 2018, we were back to the 7 original people in the office. There's a reason why I'm saying is that sometimes the things that make things work was not because there was money at the end of the tail, but there's a bunch of people who decided to keep everything into play. And my conversation is to the young people that a push to be able to make things work starts with you. And a big part of how government has made us do this is we are happy that now at 22,000 services later, we've been able to push forward and get these services into every single person's pocket. Thank you very much for the time, yes. And apologies for taking too much time.